Third overall pick. I don't want to get stuck with Zeke. Please, I don't want to get stuck with Zeke. Not again this year. Not after the suspension when I had him a couple years ago. Please, Fantasy Jesus, just let Saquon fall to me at number 3. Please. I'll never ask you for another favor, Fantasy Jesus. All right, who just went number 1? Christian McCaffrey? All right, I knew Christian McCaffrey was going to go number 1. Please don't take Saquon. Zeke, take Zeke. You know you want Zeke. Who just went number 2? Zeke went number 2. Oh, baby, give me Saquon. Give me Saquon. And pay me now. You suckers don't let Saquon fall to number 3. You might as well just go ahead and pay me for the championship. What's up, guys? Flippin' Steve. And tonight I'm going to do a video recapping some of the carnage that happened in the NFL this week. Also, going back to week 1, there was a couple injuries that carried over into week 2. But man, week 2, what a devastating week. I'm going to speak on some of the injuries, how it could affect the hobby as a whole for NFL cards, and also the individual players, and maybe what you should do with some of those players at this point and their cards. Also, the grand prize giveaway is being announced tonight. Yes, on this video, finally, the 1,000 subscriber grand prize giveaway will be given away, and you'll have your choice of 4 cards. I'm also going to show you a couple items that I have picked up recently. I'm not recommending anything right now, but I'll show you some things that I've bought. So sit back, relax. You might want to grab your aspirin and your hard hats because things could get painful. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Flippin' Steve. And yeah, let's just start talking about the NFL market in general as a whole. As we have seen coming into this NFL season, for the first time in a long time, people really buying up the position players, the running backs, the wide receivers, really seen boosts in their values, across the board. Some of the more elite fantasy type players really saw high-end dollars. And this is, the first in a while people tend to stick with the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks are the prolific players on their team. They get all the headlines. They get credit for the wins. They also take the lumps when they lose. So things like that, the quarterback, normally the face of the team. But with, different people coming into the hobby, whether it's gamblers, whether it's fantasy football players, whether it's quarterbacks getting too expensive, people really started to buy up some of the position players. And football has always been my bread and butter. I've invested in NFL cards for a long time. And I remember when position players held value back in the 80s and 90s. Your Jerry Rices, your Emmitt Smiths, your Barry Sanders. The best of the best. Those guys are legends now. And their cards have value now for good reason because they're legends. But you see people investing in a lot of younger players just based on what they've done in the last couple years. Rightfully so on some of these guys, and just based on hype on a lot of these guys. Hype has really driven the market in all sports. And the NFL has always been very volatile. Every time I talk about speak about investing in NFL cards, I always say it's the most volatile market to invest in. And this week was a perfect example because people get injured in the NFL. I know people get injured in all sports, but more so in the NFL. It's full contact. These guys are going at each other full speed. And it just takes landing wrong or taking a hard hit or, getting sacked to really jeopardize your season, not only for yourself, but for your team. And we know that value with players in the NFL doesn't only go with a bottom line stat number, but it also goes with your team winning. You don't necessarily have to put up gaudy stat numbers if your team wins and goes deep into the playoffs in order, that can be enough for cards to see value. You don't need to be the league leader in passing yards or rushing yards as long as your team is winning and you're a contributor. So I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, with some of these injuries that we had this week, there's some people that, some of these players that people really, if they got in on them coming into the season, after the boom, probably got in for some hefty price points. And that's one thing I never recommend, especially when buying NFL cards. I think it's a good thing to buy the position players and even some quarterbacks that aren't overpriced, but you got to get in on a low price point because buying NFL cards is just a bigger gamble than buying any other sport. And you want to gamble low in hopes of winning high. Sometimes it's a long shot. And, I would rather invest small money into a player that just doesn't pan out, and lose, a couple dollars, than to invest in someone that's really expensive and then that player get hurt, or that player themselves end up being a bust. So, with that being said, I'm just wondering how many of these new people coming into the market are people who have been in the market for a while and people who have always swore, the quarterbacks is the only way to go. Is this going to scare people off of position players? Because this is a new thing. It's pretty recent, and the one downfall to the position players is the injuries. And is this going to scare people off of that market now? I think it will. I think it will scare some people off, especially your longtime investors. They're going to be sitting back with having the "I told you so" moment of "I told you position players weren't a good buy. I'm backing out again." However, I still think with some of your newer investors and new people to the hobby, some of these cards will still, see value. I think people will still collect some of the higher end position players. I also look for people to tend to start going back and buying older players, retired guys, Hall of Famers. And I'm not talking vintage. I guess everyone has their own different definition of vintage. Me, when I was collecting as a kid, I collected players like Jerry Rice, Barry Sanders, Dan Marino, John Elway. Right now, the definition of vintage is normally something that's from the 1970s, from like the 1970s. With me, yeah, the vintage already has value and holds value. It's kind of tough to get in on, your Walter Paytons through your Jim Browns. If you're looking really old, Bart Starr type stuff, Roger Staubach, Terry Bradshaw, the Steelers, all these guys on high market teams that kind of dominated for a certain era, like Dallas and the Raiders and Pittsburgh, Green Bay going way back in the day. I look for a boost to come into the market of, 1980 to maybe 1995. Now, I know the end of the 80s and the 90s, early 90s was the junk wax era. However, with grading, you can get, it takes sort of the junk wax era out of the junk wax era to an extent, especially when you start talking about, 1993 SP and 94 SP and 95 SP, these foil rookie cards of Drew Bledsoe, Marshall Faulk, just to name a couple, but Jerome Bettis, guys that were Hall of Famers and really, top-notch all-pro players during their time. It's tough to get good grades on their rookie cards. So I think that, are on their top-end rookie cards anyway. So I think that you can start seeing some value being pumped back into that market because these guys give you a safe floor. They may not give you as high as an upside when it comes to a profit percentage, but they give you a safe floor and still a place to invest other than investing in modern-day quarterbacks that are completely outpriced. You look at the quarterbacks from today, and they're costing you more money than John Elway and Dan Marino, and even guys like Warren Moon, even though he never won a title. His 85 Topps rookie card, graded, it's just an impossible grade with those black borders. Other guys like Jim Kelly, who went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls, Troy Aikman, who had a dynasty there in Dallas. So these guys, were winners and Hall of Famers. Dan Marino never won a championship, unfortunately. I'm a Dolphins fan. But yeah, I look for some hobby to trickle over into some of those players, that era, whatever you want to call that era. I'm not really sure if it has its own name. It's by definition, it's technically still considered modern, but by no means is it actually modern. Those cards, the card bases, was back when, before there was high technology printing these cards out, miscuts, printing errors. You pull a card directly from a pack and it just already looks like crap, things like that. I look for a market in that, and I look for that market to be safe. That being said, if you like to gamble, you still stick with some of the newer guys. I just personally, for me, I like to do a little bit of both. I like to be diversified into some foundation, and I also like to have some stuff that I can gamble on. But again, it's always price point, and I'll show you some stuff that I've picked up recently, and it's all based around price point and the fact that it doesn't take much for these cards to double in value. Also, I want to talk about the players that are really affected by the injury bug right now. Now, I'm not going to talk about all the players because all the players, while there are big time injuries that are relevant to their team, like a Nick Bosa, not necessarily relevant into the hobby. So I want to talk about guys that are relevant in the hobby, um, more so than the guys that just got hurt. Not that any one person's injury is more important than the other. You hate to see any athlete get hurt, especially when they're your favorites. Anybody. You just don't like to see anybody get hurt in any walk of life. But even like a Cortland Sutton who's out for the year with his ACL, I don't really think there was much hobby love on Cortland Sutton just because Denver's passing offense is kind of boring. So with that being said, I want to step into the first guy, and the first guy I want to talk about is Drew Lock. Since we're on the subject of the Denver Broncos, Drew Lock took a shoulder injury. He's going to be out multiple weeks. Not 100% sure how many weeks it's going to be. He really didn't look super sharp in his while he was playing anyway. His backup Joe Driscoll, who came in yesterday, actually looked better. He threw the ball more sharp. Scored some points with Denver. They moved the ball a little bit. Do I think he's the long-term answer? I don't. He's bounced around, as a backup. I think he backed up in Detroit. But Drew Lock was just a guy. I was never really sold on him to begin with because, again, the price point in getting in on Drew Lock was so high that, really where were his cards going to go? He, at the price you were buying Drew Lock prisms for, he was really going to have to ball out and for you to get any kind of value on his cards. He was just going to have a super duper good season because the price point was already set so high based around his hype of being the starter and them drafting Jerry Jeudy. In fact, I sold all of his cards that I owned coming into this season because the hype pushed so high. I thought it was going to be a little impossible for him to live up to. That being said, we just don't know. He's hurt. Could he be better? He could be. We won't see it for at least a couple weeks. I just think Denver's offense is a little too vanilla for him to put up a big stat line to make his cards super valuable this season anyway. I think he's more of a guy who can go in there, make a couple plays, but not the kind of guy you want to lean on to win you the game. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about Michael Thomas. Not really sure how long he's going to be out. He could be back as early as next week. He was one of the position players really seeing a boost in his value in his Prism rookie cards. Michael Thomas, to me, is still a guy you want to buy. He's going to have a huge career. It does depend on who takes over as the quarterback in New Orleans when Drew Brees leaves, but he's already breaking records. He's the type of guy that you can see down the road being a Hall of Famer, having a long career. He's just a big, strong specimen receiver who just gets it done. I wouldn't, if you're invested in Michael Thomas rookie cards, I wouldn't worry about him, even if it becomes a longer hold because the market may cool off on position players. If it does, I still think he's a good long-term hold because these guys that are Hall of Fame potential type players, eventually get their day in the sun. I mean, look at the guys like Randy Moss and, Barry Sanders and the guys I've talked about. When they get their Hall of Fame and their day in the sun, their cards do get value because they have concrete legacies. I look for Michael Thomas to be that type of guy down the road, in my opinion. I think he's that caliber of a player. And he just has a bum ankle right now, nothing too super serious. And I think the Saints are, a Super Bowl contending team. Next up, I want to get into, let's talk about the elephant in the room, I guess. Let's talk about Saquon Barkley. His cards, his prisms, were really seeing big dollars coming into the season. I didn't buy a single Saquon Barkley card. I didn't get in on him at all. If you go back to the intro, I did draft him to be in my fantasy league, but that's because I believe in his talent. I believe that he's a super raw, talented player. I just don't believe in his circumstance. First of all, his circumstance with the Giants. Second of all, now, the injury, catastrophic injury, torn ACL, out for the season in the knee. A player like that who really relies a lot on his burst, his acceleration, and his agility, you don't know how that's going to affect him in the future. We've seen guys like Adrian Peterson recover from bad injuries like that and have stellar careers. However, you just never know. With medical technology today, it is way better. If this happened, 15 to 20 years ago, then we would be writing him off. But, he healed up pretty quick last year. But he's also a victim of circumstance. Even if he comes back and is, you know, tip-top shape and doesn't miss a beat, he's playing for the Giants. I don't see the Giants doing anything in the next couple years, and I'm sorry if you're a Giants fan. It's just the reality of it. Daniel Jones has still got his woes. They don't have super huge receiving threats. The offensive line is just terrible. Um, and I just think that even a healthy Saquon this year was not, he was going to be pretty good, but the Giants aren't going anywhere. And again, you really need your team to be a winning team, unless you're Christian McCaffrey, to really see big hikes in your cards. The potential of being a Super Bowl MVP running back or something. We saw it with Raheem Mostert last year. His card shot up just because the 49ers made it into the Super Bowl. So Saquon, if you have his cards, man, it's really tough to sell right now unless you got in. Depends on the price you got in on. And this is what I'm going to recommend. If you got in lower than what his cards are currently going for on the market, and they've come down drastically already, then I would get out on Saquon right now. I would cut my losses. I would try to either break even or make a little bit of profit. Or even if you're taking a small loss, which sometimes you may have to do, you don't want to take a huge loss. I look for his cards to continue to come down. And if he's somebody that you truly do believe in, personally, and you believe in the Giants and you believe in the player, because I do believe in his talent, then I believe there will be a window of opportunity to rebuy him a lot cheaper in the offseason. The biggest benefit I could see coming for Saquon would be to come back healthy, and for the Giants to want to move him to maybe, make their team stronger as a whole, instead of having just this one elite player. Don't know if that'll ever happen, but if he was moved to a more competitive team, healthy, in a season or two, then you could see a spike. And when you look at the shelf life of running backs, it's just not very long, guys. 10 years, 11 years, depending on your running style. I mean, Adrian Peterson's just been a robot. I don't understand it. But someone like Saquon, if he loses a step, loses some burst, it's really going to hurt him. And you're looking at a 10-year shelf life, and he's already into his third season, and he hasn't been able to duplicate his rookie season. His rookie season was phenomenal. Last year was, a bit of a letdown in comparison to his rookie year. And then this year is a wash. It's gone. He's already 3 years in the tank or in the bank. And, you're looking at maybe 7 or more years if he comes back healthy. And are the Giants going to do anything in that window? I just don't know, guys. I didn't buy in on Saquon. I bought in on his talent. I drafted him in fantasy football, but I didn't put my money on his cards. Just couldn't do it at the prices. So that's enough about Saquon. Again, he played for Penn State, my favorite college team, so, I like him. Next up, let's talk about, let's see, who do we want to go with next? Let's go ahead and talk about CMC. Christian McCaffrey. It's looking like 4 to 6 weeks on his ankle. He will be back to play. Personally, for me, I think he's another one of those guys that will just still continue to hold value. And he's proven it without his team winning, because he is a 1,000 guy. You just don't see it that much. When you look at guys in baseball and they're 40-40 guys, you see 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases like Ronald Acuna, and you see the potential for him to get that, and people just wanting his cards based on that. There's just not many people that are 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving. I remember Marshall Faulk doing it. I don't remember a whole lot of other people doing it. There may be someone else. Let me know. But I don't know if Saquon did it his rookie year or not. He may. But it's 4 to 6 weeks on Christian McCaffrey. He'll come back. This may be a small window to buy, guys. This guy's a legit player. He's been around since 2017. His second generational, where his father was a great receiver for the Broncos. So, just a lot of liking around him. He's very marketable. I mean, look at the contract that they give him. He's just a marketable player. He's also got that going for him. You just don't see many players of his style. And, he's kind of an anomaly in the NFL. So I think he'll still have value. I think he might dip a little bit, and you may be able to buy a little bit cheaper. And he's a longer-term hold. I just believe people will be talking about him years from now, 10, 15 years down the road, or, years after he's retired, as being just one of these running backs that comes along every so often and just does amazing things. So that's my thoughts on Christian McCaffrey. If you have him, I really wouldn't sell because you're probably not going to get out of him what you could possibly get on a return from him. And I could see, that week 4, week 5, him starting to practice and seeing him coming back to that lineup, just that little bit of hype of him coming back, causing his cards to go back up if they happen to fall. And that would be a good time to either resell if you're able to get in on the dip, if a dip happens. Hasn't been enough time to notice, or hasn't been sales and transactions, and there may not be a lot of people selling for this reason. And lastly, I want to talk about an injury that I believe helped someone's value, helped us get some eyes on a player that we weren't expecting to see. And I'm going to talk about Tyrod Taylor, who had a suspect injury. I'm not sure if it was a legit injury or if the Chargers are just trying to cover up a quarterback controversy or what. It's not really much of a controversy, but they didn't want to go with Justin Herbert this early. And he started yesterday. Tyrod Taylor apparently has an undisclosed chest injury. They're saying he's going to start next week. They also were saying he was going to start this week, and he didn't. And Justin Herbert came in, had over 300 yards, I think 311 yards, a touchdown. He did have one interception, but he was a rookie who wasn't even expecting to play. And he also had a rushing touchdown. He accounted single-handedly for 14 of his team's points. And they lost 23-20 to the Chiefs in overtime. Could you imagine if he would have beaten Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in his opening game in a divisional matchup, and he wasn't even expecting to play? He just looked really good. Moved the ball. He played with poise. In a situation where everything was stacked up against him to fail, and it didn't. He looked really good. There may not be a lot of cards out on him right now, and maybe he does take a backseat to Tyrod Taylor next week. But I think this is a guy that if you can find his cards cheap, right now you might be looking at Donruss or, I'm not really sure what brands are out there. The good brands just haven't hit yet. So he may have gotten in a little too early to the point to where when the Prism and the stuff come out, they're going to already be unaffordable. But he was kind of flying under the radar since he wasn't starting and people weren't talking about him much. I did get a nice Justin Herbert card. I was just lucky enough to get it. I'll show you what card I'm talking about because it's not even like released. Yeah, and so Justin Herbert, who would have known that he would have started yesterday and did as well as he did? So an injury to Tyrod Taylor, got some play time for Justin Herbert, which I thought was a positive. If you're to put a positive spin on someone getting hurt, I guess that would be the best way to do it. At least someone else gets a chance. So yeah, that's what I got. That's my opinions on the market. That's what I got on the players, what you should do with them. Michael Thomas, I think, hold on to his stuff. Saquon, cut your losses if they're not too bad. Justin Herbert, keep your eyes out for some stuff on him because he looks like a little Justin Herbert action. Christian McCaffrey, hang on to his stuff. Don't panic. Looks like he's going to be an all-time great, barring something catastrophic. And you just never know. Like, who would have predicted what was going to happen this week? So, yeah, with all those players out of the way, those injuries, good Lord. Let's go out here, check out some stuff that I've been picking up. Do it really quickly because I don't want to run too long. I'm already talking enough. And then we'll get the giveaway out of the way, guys, finally. So, yeah, hang tight, and I'll be right back. What's up, guys? Flippin' Steve, 1,000 subscriber giveaway. As you can see, there's the 4 cards. You'll get your choice. Jimmy G also got hurt this week, a guy I didn't touch on. However, high ankle sprain with a quarterback. He could play this week. Definitely back by next week. So, yeah, it really didn't see much relevance in talking about his injury so much. Tatis Jr. Heritage 10. Luca Optic 9. João Felix SGC 10. Topps Chrome Rookie. Topps Chrome Jimmy G. Gem Mint 10. You'll get your choice if your name is drawn. So, yeah, good luck to everybody. And let's go ahead really quickly and look at some stuff I've picked up. Some of this stuff was already filmed for a mail day. Some of this stuff you've seen recently because I've talked about some of these players once. You might see these cards again if I release another mail day video of me opening these. First off, if you want a piece of the Minshew mustache magic, guys, I'm going to talk about a player, and it's not going to be Gardner. He's done well. He's put up some numbers. Jacksonville has surprisingly had a potent-looking offense, which I'm going to guess his cards have already gone up. I haven't looked at the market on Gardner Minshew. If they're still a good price, grab yourself a couple. You might be able to get the optics really cheap. Anytime a quarterback does well, his prism shoots up. I just happen to have these from packs from last year. But go out and look for DJ Chark, guys. DJ Chark, position player. If you're looking for a cheap position player to invest in, his Contenders rookie ticket, you can pick him up really cheap. And if there's going to be a really good connection in Jacksonville, it's going to be Minshew to Chark. It's already been happening. He's fantasy relevant. He's a big play guy. And he's from LSU, and he's a stud of a receiver. And being from LSU, he's always going to have some college appeal. So yeah, DJ Chark is a guy I think you can get in with some value at a low price point, guys. Again, low price point, limit your risk. Next up, and you guys are going to swear that I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, but I'm not. I don't dislike them. I still think the 2017 Prism Juju is a good buy. I bought this one for like 25, maybe 30 bucks. After week one, they did double in price. I did do a video talking about buying Juju because he was still a position player that I felt was underpriced coming out of last year's what was considered to be a failure as a number one. But he didn't have his quarterback. I picked up this one for 30 bucks. They're already selling for like 50 to 60. I really wouldn't go in on this one at like 50 to 60. But his optics. I bought this entire lot, and there's 6 of them here. They're still taped together, but there's 6 optics here, guys. I bought them for $59.99, I believe. So that's about $10 a card in the lot. So I saved on shipping. These going in a PSA 10 are about 140 bucks. So if I can get 110, one that looks really good out of these, I'll definitely make my money back with some profit. Maybe I get a couple out of here. Popular team, big market, electric player. He does a lot on social media, has a YouTube channel, does all kinds of stuff. So Juju, 10 bucks for an optic. You can even go cheaper on his selects. Still, I think is a good buy. Up next is going to be a couple tight ends. And you're probably like, Steve, tight ends aren't worth that much. And you're right. For the most part, there's a lot of tight ends that don't hold a lot of value unless you become a great tight end like a Travis Kelce. Guys like Antonio Gates were great. You got some Hall of Famers. And I'm just buying guys that I like because if they don't become valuable, I still like them and I like the card. It's not going to be just a generic base. Mike Gesicki from Miami. I just love this dude. 130 yards and a touchdown this week. So had a monster game. He was really good last year. He's developing into a play threat, and him and Tua could be a big future. You know, with Devontae Parker out there drawing attention, who had another nice, decent game playing on a bum hamstring. 50 yards and a touchdown on 5 catches for Devontae Parker. Another guy that I talked about in a previous video, if you guys paid attention, how his 2015 Prisms are dirt cheap. But yeah, Tua's going to be coming in sooner or later, guys. And these young targets, Mike Gesicki and stuff, are going to be the guys that he leans on. And I can just see a good chemistry developing between Tua and a guy like this. Plus, he played for Penn State. I'm a Dolphins fan. So even if nothing happens to it, I leave myself with some on-card auto rookies of a player that I like on my favorite team. And next up is another tight end, Tyler Higbee. I love this guy because I pick him up in fantasy. So again, I cheer for him and I like him as a player. Caught 3 touchdowns this week from Jared Goff as they beat the Eagles. Just developing as a big play guy there. Brandon Cooks is gone. They move this guy in and out of the slot and find ways to get him the ball. He's kind of gotten the nickname in the fantasy world as Kelce Light. So anytime that Kelce is in your nickname, you know you're pretty legit. And I just, $5 for an on-card auto numbered out of 199 in a Contenders. Good buy. If tight ends get, some popularity, just low price point, good risk. Next up, I've talked about this guy so much. Still getting no respect. Ryan Tannehill. His Prism rookies you can buy in lots right now for, 2 for like $55 or, so they're going for about anywhere from 25 to 30 bucks each for the 2012 Prism, which is the same year as the Russell Wilson iconic set, or these for still under 10 bucks. $5, $8. They were $3, but they're going up a little bit. 4 touchdowns this week. Tennessee's 2-0. He was really efficient in game 1 with 2 touchdowns, and if they make another playoff run, this is going to be a card that's an insta flip. You buy it now for $8, you sell it in the playoffs for $30. You don't have to make hundreds and thousands of dollars on all these flips. Next up, another quarterback I talked about in a recent video, Jared Goff. I bought the hollow for $25. Already doubled in value. I picked up this PSA 10 Gem Mint. It's just a base select. I bought it for 50 bucks. How can I lose on an already graded? I just feel like, the Rams are 2-0. They're 1 year removed from the Super Bowl. He had 3 touchdown passes at least yesterday because he had 3 to Tyler Higbee by himself. Just a good buy. 50 bucks for an already Gem Mint 10 on a select, a sharp card, Jared Goff. 2017 Prism, Alvin Kamara. He's having a monster game on Monday Night Football on another competitive team. The Christian McCaffrey's from this set, like 800 bucks in a 10. Patrick Mahomes in this set. Deshaun Watson in this set. Just a lot of guys in this set that pull up the value of these players because it's becoming an iconic set, this 2017 Prism. Another player that I've bought from this set, Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers. Putting together another nice season already. The Packers look pretty good. They could be another playoff team. You can buy his 2017 Prisms for 20 to 30 bucks right now. And it doesn't take much for a card like that to double in price. And last but not least, someone that I already consider to be a future Hall of Famer. So this was a no-brainer buy for me. Just a safe basement buy to back up some of these other low value or low risk cards that I bought. Big Ben, 2004 Upper Deck, star rookie. Gem Mint 10 already. 89 bucks out the door. 89 bucks for a guy with 2 Super Bowls. Somewhere he's in the top 10 in passing yards all time, I believe. Plays in a big market. They love their Steeler fans love their Steelers, and Big Ben, $89 in a Gem Mint 10 for an Upper Deck, which is a legit company. His tops are selling for like $400 and $500, so just thought it was a good deal. Couldn't pass up on it. Concrete investment, even if it's a longer term hold. Who knows if the Steelers do something this year in his comeback, then it'd be great. So yeah, some Jared Goff, some Ryan Tannehill, some Big Ben, to hedge my bet, to give me some safe floor. Some tight ends, Gesicki and Higbee. Juju, there's a big loud train coming, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the video, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Good luck to everybody on the giveaway. And until next time, guys, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and good luck in your investing. And I will see you later. All right, guys, we're going to do this giveaway real quick because the video has already been super long. I'm going to go ahead and paste. Get our comments. 161. The comment has to have the answer to the questions in it. Here we go. Who's it going to be? Good luck. 1,000 subscriber grand prize, finally. Tiffany Richards. Tiffany Richards writes, awesome cards. Ryan Tannehill, Akeem, Stone Cold, Garnett, Game Worn, Dream Card, Dan the Man. My favorite card is Ricky Henderson rookie. My dream card is a Michael Jordan rookie PSA or better. So Tiffany Richards, make sure you contact me on Facebook or Instagram. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribed, and just contact me. Let me know which card of the 4 that you want, and exchange contact information so I can have it sent out to you. Once again, thanks everybody for your participation, and we're moving on, and we'll be doing something else coming up. We're approaching 1,500 subscribers, believe it or not. We're working towards 1,300, but I got a feeling that 1,500 will be here shortly. And again, thanks a lot for rolling with the channel, guys. And until next time, I'll see you later.